If you ask any gamer today what game first opened their eyes to the Wild West genre, the answer is almost always Red Dead Redemption 2. For the slightly older crowd, it might be Red Dead Redemption 1. But what if you grew up in the days of Atari, Nintendo, or even PlayStation 1? What would you say? Well, most of us would probably go with Desperados, Wanted Dead or Alive, and that's the nostalgic game I want to talk about today. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, the Wild West wasn't exactly new territory for video games. We had titles like Call of Juarez and Dead Man's Hand, fun games, but mostly first-person shooters. Then came Desperados. For me, it was the very first strategy game set in the Wild West. Now, I'm not saying it was the first ever, just the first one I personally played, and wow, what a ride it was. Released for PC in 2001, developed by Spellbound Entertainment and published by Infogrames, the game puts you in the boots of John Cooper, a bounty hunter trying to get his old gang back together. Things change when the hunter becomes the hunted, and he falsely became accused of committing a murder. On his journey, he meets with new people, some of who were his enemies before their causes met, and they become friends. They continue the journey to find out who was behind the murder, who's turned John into an outlaw and misled him to arrest a gang leader, who turns out to be another victim of the same leader who put a bounty on Cooper's head. No spoiler here, you can get the remastered version on Steam. At that time, the graphics were staggering, the soundtrack was phenomenal, and the mission design was ahead of its time. What made it special was the freedom. You could go in loud or stay quiet and stealthy. The ending of each mission was the same, but how you got there was completely up to you. It was kind of like the Assassin's Creed of its era. And it wasn't just endless desert. The game took you through mountains, swamps, towns, you name it. Think of Red Dead Redemption 2, just without the snow. I still remember the second mission, which was the first time you could actually use a gun. At first, I thought I only had 6 bullets total. I didn't know much about key bindings back then, so I ended up finishing the mission with knives and knockouts. Only later, in the third mission, did I realize, oh wait, I could actually reload. Even the tutorial was different. No separate training mission, no annoying pop-ups. You just learned as you played. Sounds outdated today, sure, but remember, this was more than 2 decades ago. Each character had unique abilities and weapons. And while technically you could play an entire mission with just one character, it would take forever. Using the right person for the right job was the key. For me, this was the first game that really made the Wild West feel alive. The landscapes, the towns, the saloons, the high walls, it felt like stepping into a Clint Eastwood movie. Some players even believe it inspired Red Dead Redemption, though that's never been confirmed, just gamer talk on forums. Now, I did play Desperados 2 Cooper's Revenge, and honestly, it felt like a step backward. Sure, they added more characters and even let you switch into third-person shooter mode, but it lost that pure strategy charm. I finished it, but it didn't give me the same thrill as the original. There were later many other versions of the game. Some characters left the game, some others joined. I haven't played them and I don't think I'll ever do it. I didn't bother with the later entries. I watched some gameplay on YouTube and something just felt off. I'd rather keep the memory of that first game alive than spoil it with disappointment. So, what about you guys? Did you ever play Once Dead or Alive? If yes, I'd love to hear your memories. If not, would you give it a try? Like I said, it's on Steam now with slightly updated graphics. Not a full remaster, more like a halfway job. But who knows, maybe one day we'll get a proper remake. That's it for today's video. If you enjoy this trip down memory lane, don't forget to hit like, drop a comment, and share what your own thoughts are. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.